and children and even pregnant women running around is not good.
Okay.
We cannot have a road which is a killer road or a grim reaper. It cannot be.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the headlines in our local dailies, and I'll start with the very own, The Standard. And I just want us to go to page 2, if you can have it in the planner. Page 2 of The Standard. You can see there pictures of Nakuru MCA would rather stand than sit on plastic chairs. So there we can see pictures of them. One lady is barefoot. And there we can see the plastic chairs are there. But they opt to stand. Maybe your comments on this, Jackie.
I'm thinking they're standing because probably they want better, better forms of, they want better seats, maybe leather seats or something like that. And this is something, of course, that is specific to them. I have no idea why, they would want to stand, but at the same time, this is a two-way thing to the entire thing. The first thing is that sometimes when people take up some of these positions, they begin to have very, very, crazy ideas about how life is supposed to run. And this is why sometimes we see a lot of excesses in the counties and, in some of these positions, because then people just want to go overboard with things. And sometimes there is a lack of understanding that we can use what we have at this particular moment, even as we, envision to move forward. So that could be one. But the other side, it could be that, it's just the unfairness of the system in such a way that money was allocated to be able to facilitate some of these things, and it was channeled in different directions. So I think it's a two-way thing where, number one, people who take up these positions should be able to understand, how things are run, in as far as can we use this as we move forward.
All right. So first, let's just take a look at all the headlines. Of course, The Standard, the headline there was Lords of Impunity. We went through that. The Daily Nation, the headline is Miguna Security Chiefs face prison, and Star, Matiang'i, Boynet face jail over Miguna. Those are just the headlines in all our local dailies. So I'll just go back to The Standard and, of course, to page 2. They want leather seats and, better seats, which are maybe imported. What's wrong with the plastic seats?
I think our point of departure should be from the old adage. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That is what we can see. But more importantly, what we must ask ourselves is this. What do we elect leaders to do? That is the first question, the foundational question, the question that must be answered. Because if we elect leaders to enjoy trappings of power, we need to understand. The other point is this. We have seen Kenyans sitting on the plastic chairs everywhere, in churches, functions. Nobody has developed a problem or an illness. So I think there was a message the president passed across during the swearing in of the cabinet secretaries about power and why people are in power. They are there to better the lives of those who they lead, not their own lives.
And the president said if one gets tired, they should just tell him and they will be released. But who will say that?
But I think these MCAs also should have the courage to just allow other people who can conduct business seated on these plastic chairs. Because look at it this way. We have a country whereby our priorities at times, and this is the illness that most counties suffer from. Their priorities are in self-aggrandizement of leaders. Instead of making devolution the real fruit that the new constitution brought, they have made it a fruit of their own. They have personalized the gift of devolution, not to the people of Kenya, but to the leaders at that level.
All right.
When you read this, you realize that we are in a country whereby some of our things are not in order. We have problems of hospitals, problems of everything, but we have leaders who can afford not to sit down, not because seats are not there, but because of the quality of the seats. They must demand for quality, because I know money must have been spent on it or something must have been done, but that does not take away the point that Kenyans must continue enjoying service and quality service. By them standing, this affects their thinking. And their work is to legislate, represent, and oversight.
I'm wondering, so who is in the loss here? You rather stand for maybe a couple of hours just not to sit, and yet there are chairs there available. But anyway, they know better. I just want us to continue. Yes.
There's one thing,
briefly,
as we have been going through the headlines.
Yeah.
For you to just see that a cabinet minister or an inspector general has been summoned or has been summoned for sentencing, I think there is one thing that we should not lose along the way, that as much as we have problems of saying that court orders are not being obeyed, but the law is working. That is one thing that we must respect, and we must amplify that. For us to be in a position whereby a minister is being summoned shows that our laws are working. And there is another part that we must not neglect.
Yes.
The part that these summons are individual in nature, and we cannot afford to ask people or to ask individuals to go and honor court orders.
All right. Okay, so to page 12 of the Standard, there you can see traders go for Juba charcoal. That is on page 12 of the Standard. Now, low-income earners feel pinch of rising charcoal prices as a bag of the commodity has shot up to 2,000. So they've opted for Juba. Just next to it, to the right of that, you can see logging ban bites farmers. Fears of job loss are rife in commercial tree planting businesses as the effects of a government ban on extraction of tree products continue to be felt. The same story is also on page 12 of The Nation, and basically what they're saying is rangers not enough to enforce ban on logging, and they're saying at least 4,500 officers are needed to effectively cover the existing forest. So the ban was, placed. We're seeing no alternatives were given to farmers. So people are sort of struggling. What do you have to say about this?
I think that there are times that as a nation we just have to be able to chart a course and go with it, like the way we did with the plastic bags. We make a decision, this is how we are going to go, and this is how we are going to go, everyone. Of course, there are issues of traders and what they have been doing in as far as logging is concerned for them to earn their living.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, sometimes there are things that we continue doing which are counterproductive. So it's about time that we are able to, take care of our forests and all that for the betterment of each and every one of us. Of course, the government would have offered alternatives. There were no alternatives for the plastic bags to begin with. Maybe there are, even though they were expensive. But sometimes it's a price that we pay for where we want to go as a nation. This is a price that we have to pay, because if we insist on continuing to cut down trees, at the end of the day, there will come a time where we'll not be able to sustain ourselves as a nation. So there are other alternatives when it comes to energy, and maybe maybe the government and every one of us need to begin to look in those directions so that we see what is effective for each and every one of us, so that we put away this, logging thing and begin to move our minds and our focus back to something else that will be beneficial for all of us.
All right, Oliver.
It is surprising that traders are going for charcoal in Juba.
Okay.
I think we are missing the point.
All right.
The main point should be this, that logging anywhere, either in Kenya, Juba, or any other part, has effects and has serious effects on the sustainability of this planet, not of this country. We might have trees as a country, but we will be affected if the same is not happening in Juba or Uganda or in Tanzania. So those are the things we need to educate the masses about.
Right.
But having said that, it is commendable that now we can have a discussion on issues of charcoal, issues of sustainable growth of our forest cover. We are moving in the right direction. But even as we move, we must sustain this as a debate that it must benefit both the people at the top and the people at the lower cadres. Charcoal at the long run is expensive as compared to gas, as compared to any other form of clean energy. But what must be done, government must do deliberate efforts to make sure that the targeted people who are the consumers of charcoal can be reached and have been given alternatives apart from charcoal. And again, this education, to educate the masses about the importance of the trees, must be done bottom top, not the other way around. If it is done in any other way, we might not achieve the results.
Okay. I want us to move to the Daily Nation, and of course, the first page, the story there is Miguna security chiefs face prison. But just below that, you can see dialysis limit puts patients' lives at risk, and hundreds of thousands of patients with kidney problems will be forced to pay extra money for dialysis every month after the National Health Insurer, which has been bearing the burden, started enforcing its restriction on the sessions capped at a 10-month. That is also on page 3 of The Nation. What do you think about this, limiting dialysis sessions?
Sometimes the health, to be able to secure health in this country becomes a very expensive venture. And if somebody is on dialysis, it means that they constantly need this kind of treatment all the time. So if they get to a point where they cannot be able to afford it or to sustain it, then it becomes very detrimental to them. I think when it comes to issues like this, we need to come up very strongly and be able to assist, because part of the, the big reason and the big venture of a government or a state is to be able to take care of its citizens, especially in matters of health. So as much as they would want maybe to increase, or as much as, this particular treatment is being increased, I think we need to be very cognizant of people who need this kind of service. And not just this, the health sector in and of itself. We need to get to a point where we are able to facilitate each and every person at their different kinds of level, as the government. So I think it's about time that we begin to channel our resources and our investments in the right direction.
All right, Oliver, briefly.
The first point we should appreciate from this issue of health is that the government of Uhuru Kenyatta has done a lot, and we have seen deliberate efforts to impact positively on the health sector, beginning from the machinery, the buying of the machines, to his travel to Cuba, to bringing in the 100 specialized doctors, and the deliberate efforts being done around the NHI, the issues of NHIF. I think what we need to focus on now is on quality, to make sure that we have quality health care. And the other thing is that we must not lose the point that health is devolved. And even as it is being devolved, we need to support it. We need not only to devolve it, but to devolve the funds to support it. If you look at most of our budgets, in each county, healthcare takes a big chunk, but the same is not translated to what the common mwananchi feels. That is what we need to work on. Another thing which, as a country, we need to invest in more is to invest in terms of looking at these machines. Do we have trained experts to operate them? And we have the machines going all the way to the local places? Because it is very alarming and dangerous that we find our own leaders going all the way to India for things that can be done here. That is where you realize that the problem is bigger than we see it. We need to demonstrate that as a country, we have trust in our hospitals. We do develop the capacity locally for us to run away from this. But even as we talk of all this, the other question that will be asked is this: are we doing enough?
Are we?
That is the question I pose.
Are we? Do you think we are?